Hello everyone. So, we're back again with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. This time I wanted to do a typing I'd never done before, but something that gives me a challenge still. I opted on going for Bug. I think it's quite an interesting typing just due to the variety and how much weaknesses they actually have in-game. The rules are just the standard Hardcore Nuzlocke rules with one extra one added in because of the Grand Underground. You can pause now to read the rest, or you can just look in the description and they will always be there. Anyway, that's enough of my babble. Let's get right into the run. We start off by literally running into Barry. I suppose it serves us right standing right outside our door though. We've only just begun, yet the adventure is already perilous. Gonna have to wrap ourselves up in bubble wrap just to survive this. When picking the starter, I had to pick Turtwig as this gives Barry a Chimchar. It's not my favourite Pokemon, but I had to make this challenge as tough as I can do. Hey, it's those old people. Is that guy staring at us?
He's just standing there, menacingly!
We then go get given our hat and we can finally look like we're about to retire. We then meet up with Dawn and she finally teaches me how to catch a Pokemon. Turns out you've got to weaken them and then throw the ball. It's a cracking thing she's here because I would not have figured this out ever. And now we do know how to catch. We can actually get our first encounter and it's going to be a Kricketot. Unfortunately, this thing is actually quite tough to level up. You can see here I almost get taken out by a Bidoof. Therefore, I have to make the decision of switching to level 2 Starlings. This is a pain for the time being, but the moment I've learned a bug move, I'm alright. After this, we then hop into the trainer school, and Barry must be incredibly intelligent as he memorizes a board within a second. I'm doing an engineering degree right now. I could really use this skill as I forget half of what's taught to us. We then go and get the Poketch, but we don't even have to use it to track our steps this time because no friendship evolution. We then take advantage of something the bug type has that other types don't. It evolves early, so we evolve Flick at just level 10 into a Kricketot. With that done, we can head on to Barry, but literally sweep past him. The only thing I even noticed in this battle was he said, "Don't get cocky, kid." We progress a little bit further and Rourke shows us his pure strength by smashing a boulder in front of us. Thankfully, we've got a Pokemon fight and not a normal fight because I'm pretty sure I'd lose against this guy. Coming up to his gym, we actually got quite lucky. The level cap is 14 and that is the exact level that Kricketune learns Absorb. This is enough to take down the Geodude in only 2 hits, but unfortunately it won't be for the Onix. Therefore, when the Onix comes out, I decide to use one Struggle Bug as it's more powerful and then use Absorb just to get the rest of my health back that I can. Cranidos then comes out and I use one Absorb which does next to nothing to him, so I switch to Struggle Bug and this can do over half health. This also puts him in Absorb range so I can just finish him off with one Absorb. That means we're off to a great start with beating the gym that we're actually weak to. We then run into Rowan and he asks us to help with 2 Team Galactic members. Obviously, we're incredibly powerful with our bugs, so we send them running. I mean, who wouldn't be scared of them? We then just want to go see how the windmill works, but someone locks the door as we go to enter. Because it's locked, I decide I'll just go through the flowering fields instead, but there are more of them here. They're keeping an old man up from his beekeeping, so we have to help him out by taking them down. As a thank you, he gives us the key to the door and some honey, something incredibly useful for this run. Well, I know it's a 6-hour wait, so I'm going to slather it on some trees right now. After all the trees are nice and lubed up, we decide to take on Mars. She sends out a Zubat, so I use my first turn to put it to sleep. We've then got a move called Fury Cutter. Now this attack will double in damage each time it's used consecutively. We get the opportunity to use it twice before the Zubat ends up waking up and U-turn it out to bring in the Purugly. This thing's always going to use Fake Out, so we've actually lost our Fury Cutter build-up. Because of this, I decide to go for Struggle Bug, but I do notice it's doing some serious damage, so I actually try to put it to sleep because I don't want the chance to crit. It works, and it must have been overworked because it doesn't actually manage to wake up before we take it out. Obviously, the Zubat is still alive, but we make incredibly short work of it, and we've taken her down. We then run into Cheryl, and she wants us to help her with some sinister groups in the forest. Now, when we're with Cheryl, even the wild battles are double battles. This gives us twice a chance of being able to get a bug Pokemon, and on top of that, hopefully get to pick. Unfortunately, we end up running into a single one, and it's a Wurmple. Therefore, we're stuck with it. After we've caught it, we're just stood still, and Cheryl's just charging into us. What is wrong with her? Anyway, we've got the moment of truth. Will Heimlich become a Dustox? No, it's a Silicoon, so we're going to be stuck with Beautifly this run. Kinda sucks because there's plenty of bug flying Pokemon, but there's nothing we can do. We then get ambushed by an old man who sends us underground. Now I know what the Undertaker felt like. Anyway, being underground means we can finally get a hold of a Scyther. I catch it and end up calling it Manny. With our new team member, we can now go and take on Gardenia. And Scyther wipes it. Yeah, he's a bit broken for taking on this gym. We progress a little bit further and we get to see the glory that is Cynthia. Even in chibi style, she looks cool as anything. After we progressed a little further, we run into Jupiter. Her first Pokemon, the Zubat, is incredibly weak to our Scyther, so we take it down. She then sends out Skunk Tank, which is a bit scary with Flamethrower, but we do over half damage with our Wing Attack. Its Berry does end up healing it up, and then it just goes for a Poison Guess. After this, I'm pretty sure she has a heal, so I go for double hit so we don't knock it into healing range before taking it out with a Wing Attack. We can then head on and get a free bite. Now, obviously, I'm going to pick green to be fitting with the theme of this video of bugs. We then progress a touch further where we're introduced to Cyrus. We've never actually met him before, but he just decides to ramble on to us. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would never do this to a stranger. It's really odd. He also never says excuse you when he goes to walk past us, and we just happen to know to move. What's that about? I then try to go to Amity Square, but apparently none of my Pokemon are cute. I have a Kricketune, a Beautifly, and a Scyther, all of which are incredibly cute Pokemon. Let me in. But somehow the ugly thing that is Turtwig is allowed in. We then go on to the contest hall where we're given a tuxedo. I would really love to change into it, but I can't find anywhere where it lets us use it outside of the contest hall. Especially because I could get rid of this bloody hat. We then have another Barry fight, but he's a complete washover with Scyther. I then end up running into something terrible though. I ran into a double battle accidentally, and as a result, I played badly and lost Flick. You poor defenseless little bug. I'm so sorry, you did not deserve this, and this was completely my fault. We then run into Dawn, and she is completely irresponsible as she's lost her Pokedex. Anyway, that's not actually our problem, so I decide it's time to go and take on Maylene. Versus Maylene, there is an incredibly simple strategy though. Our Scyther does a bit of a dance with some swords, and then proceeds to sweep the entire gym. Dawn then comes and tells us that the Pokedex that she irresponsibly lost has now been taken. Why should we be helping you? I'd much rather go and see what some trees have to offer. Unfortunately, we have Wurmple, but Species Clause means we can reuse this tree. The rest aren't quite ready yet, so let's go take on Wake. He starts off with Gyarados as I start off with Manny. I then proceed to Swords Dance twice. Now the only way this can go wrong is if he crits me. Thankfully, he doesn't end up doing that, so I'm set up and I can now sweep through the Quagsire and the Floatzel. Is Wake ever really a trouble in these games? After waiting a little while, some more of the trees are ready. There is actually one issue though. Combee has a 1 in 8 chance of being female, and we don't want the male one. So whenever we run into a male Combee, we have to run, but that then stops us from using that tree again in the future. This is because of the Nuzlocke in root cause, and if we get to the last tree and it is a male, we'll just have to catch it as we want that encounter. One of these encounters does end up being Burmy. Now it is a male, but Mothim's not too bad, so I catch it anyway, and I end up calling it Francis. I also get the joy of running into a Heracross. Now this is quite rare on the trees, so I'm going to catch it the moment we get it. Once it's caught, we give him the name Dim. Props to anyone who actually gets that reference. Or the naming theme at all, it is a bit obscure for younger people. Anyway, with both of them caught, we're ready to evolve Francis. And while we're chasing someone, we have another Barry fight.
And it's gone.
Roar! What are the noises this guy's making? With the noises he was making, I'm kind of afraid to beat him. But we did do that. Cynthia then invites me to go and see a lake, but unfortunately it's cut off to the public. Why can't we get any luck? Anyway, she gives us some medicine to go cure some headaches of some Psyducks. The medicine does mean one almost gets lost, but thankfully he finds his way back to his troop. We then get a Team Galactic member threatening to demolish the town. Now, that is an overreaction, and how can you take someone with a bowl cut that seriously? Obviously, we don't want to be losing a town from our map, so we go and beat him down.
You're quite the trainer, aren't you? As the elder of my town, I give you my thanks.
Oh, stop it. I appreciate it, though. Even though we did save her, she decides she still wants to bore us. Literally talking forever about a painting on a wall. Not really too interested. Well, we've just been bored to death, so let's go do something else boring. Maths. We have to solve maths equations in Fantina's gym.
Since I'm pretty good at the maths, we end up figuring it out and we can take on Fantina.
She starts off with her Driftling, and I decide the best one to use is Francis. This is because it knows both Quiver Dance and Roost, meaning it can keep itself healthy while boosting its special defense. And attack and speed, but the defense is more important for taking the hits. I also know if this Driftling is going to use a move against me, it's going to be Fly. Therefore, I taught Protect, so Fly is useless. We get 5 of the Quiver Dances set up before we get burnt twice. I had to get burnt twice as I equipped a berry to it. And at that point, we just need to start hammering it out before we take too much damage. Obviously, Gengar being weak to a Psybeam goes down to one of them. Miss Magius does pretty well though, she actually manages to tank it. Thankfully, at this sort of health, she can't take us down with a Phantom Force, so we just let her do it before taking her out on the next turn. We then run into Cynthia outside the gym, and she is glad to see us for what we did for her grandmother. Seems we've got some brownie points with the champion. After this, we have another Barry fight, but it's not worth commentating over it as Scyther just sweeps through it yet again. With him destroyed, we now need to go on and take on Byron. He leads with Bronzor and I lead with Dim. I go for one Brick Break as he goes for a Trick Room. Now when his other Pokemon come out, I actually want to be faster than them. Therefore, I use Sword Stance and Protect to waste turns until the Trick Room is gone. After this, obviously the Bronzor is going to go down to just one more Brick Break. We then have the Steelix come out and a Brick Break takes it down to its sturdy, so it does get the opportunity to hit us with a Gyro Ball. Thankfully, it's not a major worry, as even though that was a crit, it didn't take us out. Obviously, it's one shot, so we take that down, and we've just got Bastiodon left. Now, Bastiodon can't actually take us down without getting a crit on one of its moves. And it's also not going to go for them because we've raised our attack, so it's going to up its defense, and then we can just take it out. Sometimes the straightforward plan is the best one, and it works out for you. We then head on to the library of the city.
Okay, Gramps, I brought Monty here like I'd said. Now I'm out of here.
Who in the world talks like that? Anyway, Rowan mentions something's up with some lakes and he wants us to check them out. After he's done talking, we find out the building is incredibly structurally sound as it shakes like mad and it doesn't go down. Anyway, we said we'd check out Lake Valor and oh my god, all the poor fish sat there flopping around. You poor defenseless buggers. If I had a cup of water, I'd just sit there splashing the water on them. We find the culprit who has done this to these poor defenseless little fish, so we decide we need to take them down. Obviously, I have my trusty Scyther, and it manages to take all the Pokemon down, even the ones that resisted it.
Ah, Morty, what timing? Those scoundrels are at it again.
Anyway, Dawn is struggling with said scoundrels, so we have to go and take them out. Honestly, though, for this point in the game, these guys are terrible, and I don't know why they made them so easy. Them all dealt with means we have to deal with the 7th gym leader, Candace. She starts off with Snova, and I start off with Dim. The Snova does set up Hail, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it's not too bad for us. We use it being quite weak to set up 2 Sword Stance before taking it out with a Brick Break. She then sends out the one member of this gym that's faster than us so can hit us, and that's Medicham. It hits us with a Rock Slide for some quite severe damage. Thankfully though, we hold on in the red, but we can take it down with one Aerial Ace. The thing with Sneasel is if we hadn't healed up with our Citrus Berry, we would have actually been taken out by it. This is because at this low health, the most powerful move it can see to use it is Avalanche, which is negative priority, meaning we can take it out taking no damage. Then all that's left is Abomination, which is pretty tanky, but we set up 2 Sword Stance, so it goes bye-bye. What a shocker, the fighting type sweeps the ice gym. With that done, we can glide out of the gym. Oh, you're finished already? That's not very nice, that can hurt a man's confidence, Jupiter. There, would you look at these antennae? Well, we are bug types, so obviously they look fabulous. Anyway, we do make our way through Team Galactic's HQ, and we're ready to take on Cyrus for the first time. He starts off with Murkrow, and because of its dark typing, 1 Brick Break is enough to take it down. He then sends out his Golbat, but I'm not doing much damage with dimming his Brick Breaks, therefore I bring out Manny. Manny, since he's a technician, will be enough to take this Golbat down with just 1 wing attack. We then have the Sneasel come out, but this thing really can't do an awful lot to us, so we just need to use 2 wing attacks and it's down. I then walk through a laboratory full of eggs. I've seen this movie, I ain't staying here. We then release the Lake Trio, and Saturn tells us about Cyrus making a red chain. Now I can just imagine him sat there knitting. Anyway, after the treacherous climb up the mountain, we are ready to meet Cyrus. Unfortunately, at that point, he's already ready to call forth Dialga. I don't really know what he's planning to do with the God of Time, but surely it can't be good. He also has this weird ambition that he will become a deity. He literally says, I will become the new deity. Don't know how time's going to help you do that, mate. Obviously, we need to stop them, but we do first have to do a double battle with Barry. I start off with Scyther because I actually want him at the start of the Cyrus fight. Therefore, I lead with him, but switch into Mothim. Mothim is really good at wasting time. It has Roost and Quiver Dance, so we can just stall it out until us and Barry can take them all out. It was actually quite an easy fight with fairly little strategizing just because Roost is crazy powerful. Anyway, that battle done, we then need to confront Cyrus, but Dialga seems angry. He's trying to escape the red ring, and thankfully the Lake Trio let him do it.
My child, we have freed the dog from the ghoul. It is up to you to do the rest and take him down. I will, as always, be watching.
Well, I'm not going to argue with a god. Let's take down Cyrus. I start off with Manny, and he starts off with Honchcrow. Now, I am faster than this, but this thing will always crit because of its ability and its moves. This means I need to go for a Swords Dance, and I actually needed to equip a Cobra Berry so it only does half damage to us. Once this is done, we're free to take it out with one wing attack. He then sends out his Gyarados, who intimidates us, meaning I'm not going to one-shot it, so I only need to take one attack from it. And after that, I know I'm faster, so it's free to take it down. At this point, we have the Crobat to deal with. Now, this thing can actually take me out if I'm not careful, so I need to switch out. Now, I actually wanted a safe switch in here, therefore the one I brought out was Heimlich, as I know I'm not going to need them anymore in this run. This is basically their debut, and they can manage to get a couple of hits off to chip down at the Crobat, but unfortunately, keeping it around just isn't the wise idea, as I don't think I can do that. Once it goes down, we've got an incredibly safe switch into Mothim. Now, with Mothim, you might think I'll just attack and take out. However, I use Struggle Bug. This is because this is guaranteed to lower its special attack, meaning I can stop it doing damage to us. Anytime it gets us low, I just need to use Roost and I fly right back up there in health. And then I need to take advantage of being able to set up some Quiver Dances. Once a couple are set up, we can take it down using a Psychic. Now he sends out his final Pokemon, Weavile. Because we've managed to set ourselves up though, we can just use 2 Struggle Bugs and the Weavile is gone. It really was a shame to lose someone here, but thankfully Beautifly and Mothim are similar enough where it doesn't matter too much. He then asks us what I consider perfection. Bloody gorgeous. With that done, we've just got to take on the Dialga. This massive steel dragon dog is no chance for my little bug with its Brick Break though. Imagine being a legendary and getting 2-shot by a bug. We then progress into Sunnyshow City, and this man tells us he can see the aura of a trainer around us. Does he expect me to be like Goku or something? I then get the glory of looking through a telescope, and my god, it's misty out today. Anyway, we've lost some team members, so I decide it's time to go get more. I go back underground and I get a Skorupi. I catch it and call it Hopper. Unfortunately though, this thing won't be allowed to evolve. I then decide it's time to finally go and check all the trees until we've run out, and I do eventually find the female Combi. I end up giving that the name Atta. Obviously, before we take on the next gym, we might as well evolve Atta into the Vespiquen. And with that, we are prepared to take on Volkner. He leads with Raichu as I lead with Dim. I opt to go for a Bulldoze as it will slow down whatever he Volt switches into, which ends up being the Ambipom. This thing knows Fake Out and I don't want unnecessary damage, so I opt to use Protect. And then it just takes me a Brick Break to take it down. We do get a crit thanks to the friendship, but it didn't matter as this was a one-shot no matter what. He then sends out the Raichu again, but I actually want some damage on whatever he sends out, so I use a Brick Break, and the damage I do take is healed back with a Berry. Octillery has already taken some damage. This means it only takes one more Brick Break and we've taken it out. He then sends out Raichu, and even if he doesn't go for Volt Switch, I'd love to get a Bulldoze off on it, so I use that. Unfortunately though, he does switch into Luxray, but thankfully this does slow that down. At this point though, Dim is way too low and it will be taken out with one hit. The one I decide to switch into ends up being Hopper. This is because he knows Toxic, so I can use it against the Luxray. And to be honest, I should have probably taught him Protect so I could have taken it out, but unfortunately I didn't. Nothing else has a safe switch in, so we have to make the choice to sack Hopper in his very first battle. You weren't with us long, but you're integral to the plan. That then gives us a free switch into Manny, and with Manny I set up a Swords Dance. It does some pretty major damage with Ice Fang. I had a Choppleberry hoping to go for Thunderfang, but the AI must have known. Thankfully though, neither of them are enough to take me out, so one double hit gets rid of that. Now all that's left to deal with is the Raichu. Because we still have the Choppleberry equipped, we actually can take any hit and we will be safe. Therefore, I can just go and take the Raichu out. This team, being half flying, did really struggle with the electric gym, but thankfully with only one sack we made it through. We then get the joy of trying to carry on, but Jasmine is in the way. Thankfully, she's going to help us out and give us some waterfalls. Using them waterfalls, we can then make our way to the Elite Four where Barry challenges us. He leads with Staraptor and I lead with Manny. I'm able to set up one Sword Stance as it plucks away my Citrus Berry, but that Sword Stance is all I need to make double hit be able to take you out. He then sends out his Heracross. This thing's 4 times weak to flying, so one wing attack glides right through it. After this, we've got the Float Soul, but that thing is nowhere near tanky enough to take a wing attack from us. Infernape is half fighting type, so as you imagine, he goes down incredibly quickly. But then it gets a little bit interesting. He decides to send out his Snorlax. This thing is normally incredibly tanky and quite hard hitting. Unfortunately though, in this battle, they didn't give Barry decent IVs and decent EVs like they have every other trainer, so we can actually stay in and take it down using only 2 wing attacks. They should have given him IVs similar to the Elite Four. I think it would have made this battle a lot more interesting. One thing the Snorlax did manage to do though was put my Scyther to sleep. That means when his Roserade comes out, I need to switch out. The one I switch into is Francis, and it only takes us 2 Bug Buzzes and the Roserade is gone. With that done and us prepping to level 63 with all our Pokemon, we can enter the Elite Four. The first one being a guy who's copying us with bug Pokemon, and that's Aaron. I lead with Manny as he leads with his Dustox, and I set up a Sword Stance as he uses a Toxic. Thankfully though, before this battle, I equipped a Berry so that poison disappears and then I can sweep on through to Drapion. This Drapion is faster than us, so it can hit us with a Cross Poison, but obviously it doesn't do much damage, so one wing attack and it's gone. You might have perfect IVs, but you can't do much against me, Aaron. Next up, we have the second member, and that's going to be Bertha. She starts with Quagsire as I start with Dim. I end up using a Sword Stance as it uses a Toxic. Thankfully though, yet again, I equipped a Berry to cure this. Now, for the Hippowdon, I do need a second Sword Stance, so I use a Protect just to gauge whether it's going to attack or Toxic me. Thankfully, it ends up using Earthquake. This means I can use one more Sword Stance and take it out. Obviously, the majority of her Pokemon are Rock types, and they're actually quite slow. That means we can take the majority of them out in one, an exception being the Golem. This thing has Sturdy, and it's got Stone Edge. Stone Edge can't do enough to take us down. It will do about 50% of our health, but we don't have to worry about it anyway, as it misses thanks to Friendship. This run seems to be getting a decent bit of Friendship, but never at a time where it actually matters. It's always a crit when I'm already set up, or avoiding an attack that wouldn't have done any damage anyway. Anyway, we do eventually get past the Golem, and that means all that's left is the Hippowdon, which we take down incredibly easily. To be honest, ground types never scared me, and thank God we had Heracross because it just sweeps. Next up, we have what I think is the scariest battle of this run, and that is Flint and his fire types. I start off with Atta as it can actually tank some Rapidash attacks quite well. I then use an attack order before going for a power gem. This is simply because I don't want to knock it into healing range. At this point though, it's done a little bit of damage and we can use a power gem and take it incredibly low. It then uses Hypnosis against us and puts us to sleep, but I'm going to be honest, the plan was always to sack Vespiquen here. Therefore, we go for it, we use a power gem, but we're going to be... Oh, it woke up first turn and took out the Rapidash. That's incredible. Rapidash down means the Lopunny ends up coming out. However, as I said, the plan was always to sack Vespiquen off here. Therefore, I let the Lopunny take it out. This gives me a safe switch in onto Dim. Then, once that happens, all Dim needs to do is set up one Sword Stance and the Lopunny will go down to 1 Brick Break. After that, he sends out the reason why we needed that Sword Stance, and that is Steelix. With the Sword Stance, it guarantees to KO the Steelix, so it's gone. He then sends out his Driftling. Now, this thing cannot be touched by my Dim, therefore I bring Manny out. Manny has a Rawsberry just in case he Will-O-Wisp me, but the idea here is to set up 1 Agility and 1 Sword Stance. Unfortunately, at some point it did use Strength Sap though, so we have to use an extra Sword Stance to ensure we can take the next Pokemon out. And once that's done, we need to use a Wing Attack and take it out. But the Minimizes have stacked up and it can batten past them to Infernape. Now, Infernape having Evasiveness is very bad. However, what would you say is if I planned from this from the beginning? There is a reason my Scyther never evolved. And the reason is, if I miss a move on Infernape, he will be taken out as a Scizor, but he won't be taken out as a Scyther. And I was incredibly correct to do so, as we do miss our attack against it. Thankfully though, all we need to do is go to the next turn and use a double hit, because if we use Wing Attack, it wouldn't work thanks to its Focus Sash, therefore double hit will take it out. Now, all that's left is the Driftling. Obviously, we've got a +3, so 1 Wing Attack is more than enough to annihilate it. This fight was the scariest one of the run by far, and I'm so glad I did that pre-planning ahead, as if we had had Scissor here, we would have wiped. We then have the joy of dealing with the psychic trainer Lucian. He starts off Mr. Mime, I start off Francis. Now, the thing about his Mr. Mime is this thing just loves to set up, and it can't really do much damage to us. That leaves me free to set up a load of Quiver Dance, and we've got Roost to keep ourselves healthy just in case. We do end up having to use an extra Quiver Dance just to ensure the light screen goes down before we take it out, but once that light screen is down, we can wipe the Mr. Mime out of here. Then, because we've got plus speed and plus special attack, all we need is Bug Buzz to wipe out every single one of his Pokemon from here on out. Literally swept a trainer using a Mothim. Never thought I would say that. That brings us on to the final battle, and that battle is going to be Cynthia. We have fought so hard with our bugs to get here, and hopefully it's all paid off. She leads Spiritomb, and I yet again lead Francis. The idea is to set up the exact same as the last trainer though. Spiritomb does do some major damage to us, but thanks to us having Roost and it not being able to do more than half health, we are incredibly safe. Once we manage to get all 6 Quiver Dance set up, he actually decides that he wants to switch to Sucker Punch. Therefore, I have to do the idea of using Quiver Dance and Roost until he's out of Sucker Punch PP, because if he hits me, it'll probably hit quite hard. Thankfully, it's only got 5 PP, so it doesn't take much, and then we can use a Bug Buzz to finish it off. She then sends out Gastrodon, but that meets the entirely same fate. After this, she sends out her Milotic, and this thing actually manages to survive an attack. It goes for an Ice Beam, and we dodge it with Friendship. Again though, it wouldn't have mattered, as at this point we've got max special defense, so it's going to do no damage even if it had hit us. Cynthia does then try and keep it alive with full restores, but once we're out in that little battle, we've taken it out. Roserade then comes out, so I switch it up a little bit and I use a Psychic versus it. The same thing has to go for the Lucario because it'll actually resist our bug moves, so one Psychic can take it out. Then she brings out the beast that is Garchomp, the incredibly strong dragon. Oh my god, we've taken it down with a bug move. How amazing is that? We've actually beat her. I'm in awe. Like, we lost the fairy run but won the bug one? What? And that, my friends, is the story of how one little bug boy is the best Pokemon in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Literally sweeping 2 of the 5 most powerful trainers of the region. What a hero. And that's the run over. Thank you guys for your time for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please could you leave it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10k by the end of the year. And finally, any runs that you guys want to see in the future, comment them down below and I'll be sure to try and get to as many as possible. Thank you all for your time and goodbye.